As you know, Tony Blinken is back in the Middle East, shuttling to try to keep things calm to prevent this Middle East war from expanding. And a reporter from Al Jazeera asked Blinken a specific question. First, before he asked the question, he created the proper narrative. Israel has killed over 100 reporters in Gaza. The head bureau chief at, I think it was the head bureau chief at Al Jazeera, had his family killed. And today or yesterday or a few days ago, his son was killed in a private car bombed by the Israelis. So another journalist gone dead. So he presented the narrative. Not only did he present the narrative, he reminded Blinken that over 20,000 Palestinians were murdered by the Israeli IDF. They also pointed out that Israel is decimating the entire Gaza Strip, and that people have nowhere to return to. Their homes are all decimated. He points all this out. And he pretty much asked, why is a superpower like the United States not abiding by the ceasefire that the United Nations pretty much voted for, or pretty much is asking for? And the tone, I want you to listen to this. The tone deafness of Tony Blinken is absolutely deafening. Please listen, and then we'll take it on the other side.
For the final question, Walid Al-Amari with Al Jazeera.
Thank you, Walid Al-Amari, Al Jazeera Bureau Chief in Jerusalem. First, let me, Mr. Secretary of State Blinken, thank you for expressing your deep sadness about the tragedy of our dear colleague, Al Jazeera reporter in Gaza, Wael Dahdoum. Wael has lost his wife and 3 sons and his grandchildren in an Israeli bombardment of the house where they were fled from the center of Gaza City and displaced to the southern Gaza Strip on 25th of October. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, he lost his eldest son, Hamza, who was a journalist in Al Jazeera media network and was killed in an Israeli airstrike that hit a civilian car in Rafah. 110 Palestinian journalists were killed so far by Israeli army in Gaza during the war. More than 20,000 civilians were killed and tens of thousands were injured and hundreds of thousands were displaced from their homes that no longer exist. The situation of the Israeli citizens is also difficult. Tens of thousands were displaced from the Gaza envelope and the borderline with Lebanon, and hundreds of civilians were killed in the Hamas attack on the 7th of October. And there are many prisoners and hostages from both sides, as you know. My question, why do you, as a superpower and as leading force in the international community, not oblige the parties and especially the Israeli government to cease fire in Gaza and respect the United Nations resolutions and dedicated the peaceful solution instead of both sides continuing wash blood by more blood?
The losses that your colleague suffered are unimaginable. And I have deep condolences for what he has suffered. I, again, can't even begin to fully imagine what he's gone through. And as I said again the other day to the journalists who've lost their lives or been injured in Gaza, we feel very strongly for them as well. And the essential work that they do is more vital than ever. We want this war to end as soon as possible. There's been far too much loss of life, far too much suffering. But it's vital that Israel achieve its very legitimate objectives of ensuring that October 7th can never happen again. And we believe they've made considerable progress toward that goal. At the same time, I think it's very important to remember that everyone has choices to make, and that includes Hamas. Hamas could have ended this on October 8th by not hiding behind civilians, by putting down its weapons, by surrendering, by releasing the hostages. None of the suffering would have happened if Hamas hadn't did what it did on October 7th, and had it made different decisions thereafter. So it's very important to keep that in perspective. And again, this could end tomorrow if Hamas makes those decisions. We will continue, as we've done, to give the Israelis our best advice about conducting this war in a manner that achieves the objective of making sure that October 7th can't be repeated, does better by protecting civilians, and making sure that people get the assistance that they need.
Blinken showed no emotions that 20-something thousand Palestinians were murdered by the IDF. He showed a little bit of compassion for the reporters who got murdered by Israel by bombing civilian cars. Yes, he showed compassion for that. But for the thousands of babies and mothers and women and men, no compassion. The only thing he says is Israel has the right to prevent Hamas from ever doing this again. How brain dead could that answer be? First of all, he has to know that by killing all those Palestinians, even if they are human shields, are simply going to create more terrorists. It doesn't create the love in the heart of Palestinians when you have an oppressor come and murder 20-something thousand of you. It doesn't do that. It also is completely brain dead when he says Hamas can stop this tomorrow. If they just turn over the hostages and turn themselves in, it's all over. We will stop it. We will stop it. If that turns out to be the case, we will stop doing this. In other words, the same way Hamas is holding hostages, for Israeli hostages, which is bad, a terrorist act. They killed 1,200 Israelis. Horrendous. It's a terrorist act, but they're a terrorist organization. And now Israel is saying, just turn yourself in and we'll stop killing all those Palestinians that's hiding behind you, that you're hiding behind. As opposed to saying something sensible like, we will have a surgical warfare with Hamas. In other words, where possible, we'll bomb the tunnels, we'll have clandestine operations to go in there and surgically remove them so that they can't use Palestinians as shields to protect themselves. And you know what happens when you do that? Palestinians see, Israel doesn't want to kill all of us. They're just looking for the terrorists for real, right? I mean, I know I'm making it overly simplistic because the bad blood is there. But to make believe like Israel has to kill these Palestinians to get to Hamas, and to make believe that Israel, the IDF is somehow a benevolent institution, when in fact, what they are doing, if you listen to the videos that they put out, they're out there talking about the Palestinians being animals, scraping them off to the sea, getting them to leave the territory. I mean, all kinds of things you hear the IDF and different people in the IDF releasing videos. There are videos out there showing how they just go and harass and destroy people, kill them at will. So to make believe like the Israeli military is this upstanding unit that won't do these massacres on innocent civilians is wishful thinking, or it's actually you putting your head in the sand. As Obama said, need the hands, it's clean on no side. But that said, there are, I repeat, over 20,000 dead Palestinians with their strip completely decimated, or 78% or more decimated. And then you have 1,200 or so Israelis that were murdered by terrorists, but Tel Aviv stands, Haifa stands, Jerusalem stands. No decimation in these places. You have to ask yourself, who is the aggressor? You have to ask yourself, are your eyes deceiving you? Or you are seeing a completely and entirely asymmetric war in which one side's war has turned into genocide.
We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead, number one, subscribe to our channel, and number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.